What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a 2012 Odyssey. It's got 3.5 in it, and we're going to be doing a timing belt on this. We'll also do spark plugs on it as well, and I may show that in the video. Don't know yet. Just depends on how long it takes to film all this stuff right here, but I'll show you the van. We're still waiting on parts for the Kia, so that video will be up before this one, so y'all should see it running hopefully. But like I said, we're gonna be doing timing belt on this. It did start making a lot of noise on the tensioner. I'll show you the kit we got. Here is the kit. We got it from O'Reilly's, not a sponsor, but we get most of our parts from there. Part number 20358K. It comes with the water pump, timing belt, tensioner, idler, belt, everything, gaskets, all that good stuff. And we got fluids over there. Should have the coolant in there along with spark plugs. So let me gather some tools and I'll be right back to get to filming this. So I went ahead and took the belt and the tensioner off just because it is pretty tight down in here, to show y'all where everything is on that. And the way you're going to take the tensioner off and the belt is, so the tensioner sits in there about like that, and when you go to do it, you're going to use a 14 millimeter, and then you're going to pull the tensioner towards the back of the car like this way, and that will loosen the belt. And you can take it off all the accessories. And then to take the actual tensioner off, it's got two bolts. Got this 12 millimeter right there, and then this 14 millimeter on the front that goes through the pulley, and that should take the whole assembly off. And next we're going to go ahead and start taking these upper covers off. You should have, I think, 4 or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll have 5 bolts, little 10 millimeters that have that hold each cover on. So we're going to take these 5 bolts out, and then you should be able to see the timing belts. The back one's going to be a little bit harder to see, and it's got a little bit of wiring on it and stuff too, but we'll get that and get it out of the way. So we got the covers off, and on the back side there is this wire right here that runs along the top in a little groove. Each one of them had 5 10 millimeter bolts, and you can see the timing covers are a lot better. I mean, the timing gears a lot better, and the timing belt. And there is a good bit of play in the belt, so I'm guessing that the tensioner is pretty wore out. So now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to probably take the power steering pump off, just to give me a little bit of clearance, at least so I can just kind of move it around. And then whenever I do that, after I do that, I'll go down to the bottom, pull the Harmonic Balancer off, and then we can start taking this lower cover off. But to do this, I'm probably going to remove this coolant reservoir and the power steering reservoir. To remove the coolant reservoir, it looks like it's just this little body clip, and then it's got like the little fill tube on the bottom. I'll just pull it up. But also I'm going to start draining the coolant a little bit, because we are changing the water pump on this as well. So I'm in the passenger side wheel well. I took the tire off and popped some of these body clips out, and now we're going to try to take the Harmonic Balancer off on this. Now these Hondas are notorious for being super tight, so we're going to try it and see if my impact will break it loose. So stick with me and we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, by the way, these are 19s 90% of the time on these Hondas. So we didn't get it off, so I had to go buy one of these. This is the crank socket I was talking about. I did get the 19 and the 22 because it came in a set. We're going to see how this works. Took it right out. So if you're going to do this job, get yourself one of those. You don't have to get a Mac. I think Lyle makes the ones for Mac, but I could not get a Lyle in for like a week. And the Mac guy was the only person, even Snap-on didn't have it on their truck, that had these. And like I said, got the 22 and the 19 millimeter both for about $100. If you're wondering, there's the part numbers for the 22. It is L77110 from Mac, and for the 19 it is L77080, which the 77080 is actually the Lyle part number. So if you look up that, you will get it. I'll put a link down below to it. You can get the socket for probably around $30–40 on Amazon. I did pay $100 for the set, but like I said, I know that's a little more than what you normally would pay for it. But he had it on this truck, and he was the only one that had it. And we're gonna see if we can get this off. Normally you can just pull these harmonic balancers off. It is moving. It's just really, come on. All right, there we go. Here is your balancer right there. Now that we have that off, and this is what the bolts look like, but now that we got that off, we can, I'm going to put the jack stand somewhere else where I can lower this jack down, because we're going to have to jack underneath the engine, because I got to take the motor mount out next. But now that we got that out, we can actually start taking the lower cover off as well. And it looks like the front oil pan, the front of the oil pan was leaking a little bit. I'll let them know about that. And it may even have another leak on it, but possibly valve covers, because it's on the front of the engine. It don't look like the front timing cover, or not timing cover, but front seal on it was leaking from this point, but we'll see more whenever we get down in there. Alright, we're up on the top now. I do have a jack stand underneath it, and we're gonna have to pull this motor mount out. There should be 2 bolts going straight down, and then we're gonna have to take the actual rubber mount out as well. But to get this off, there's 2 bolts that come straight down, and then one that comes in towards the front and back of the car. And I know you can't see it because of everything, but right there is the head of the bolt, and then there's this bolt, and I'm gonna get y'all a good point, another one right down there. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull those off, and be honest, I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull this hose right here off from the power steering pump, so I can move the power steering pump so I get better access, and then that way y'all can see too. Got the power steering pump out of the way so y'all could get a little bit better view on all this. So what I did was took this hose off, put a rubber glove and the hose clamp around it, keep it from leaking. And then on the pump itself, if you get a glove and put the pinky finger in over top of the thing, you shouldn't leak anything as well. Now to move this out of the way, I did disconnect this connector right there just because it was a little tight, and then unclipped the smaller AC line so you can move it around a little bit. It is a little tight, but you can get it out through this little area. But like I said, now you can see a lot easier what you're going to have to remove. Like I said, these 2 bolts, that bolt right there, and I don't know if there's a nut on the back. Nope, that's not a nut, it just threads into itself. And then once we do that, we should be able to take this mount right here off. I will take this little bracket off as well, and that's just a little 10mm because that houses a ground cable. So we went a little bit further, and we got the actual mount piece right here out. You're gonna have, here's your long bolt. We took this 10mm out because that attaches up here, and then we took the computer out. Here's your computer. We disconnected disconnected the 3 connectors, and then there's a bolt up here, one right here for the AC line. There's one down here on the bottom that's like closer to the radiator, and then there's one tricky one right there on the very back, and that one on the very back goes right there, and it sits behind this motor mount piece. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually take this piece off now, because on this bracket right there, there's 3 bolts, one on the top, one on the back side on the bottom, and then if you look right about where this hole is, go right down below it, there should be a hole right there, and the is a bolt. Sorry, had a brain fart there, I don't know why. But now we'll have to take these 3 bolts out. They look like they're 17s. There's one down here, one on the back, and then one right down there on the front. So let me take those out real quick, and then I'll bring y'all back. So we got the front mount piece off now, and as you can see, I took the front cover off too. I left it attached to the actual mount and pulled it all out as an assembly. Sometimes it's just a little easier to do that, but to take this cover off, if you want to take it off completely without taking the mount, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bolts. It's just that one in the middle is attached to the actual mount. You can see it right here on the back. So also, they have a broke motor mount. I could probably push it out. It's about completely torn. I'm gonna let them know about that. Also, right now would be the perfect time to change that, just because I do have it out already. But now we are officially at the timing belt. We're going to line up all these timing marks real quick, but first thing I want to do is check a few things. Oh yeah, look how loose this belt is. Wow, look at that. That belt is super loose. Like, I can spin the water pump without even doing anything. Yeah, that tensioner has to be shot. I bet it's stuck. Well, we are going to rotate this and get it in time. So let me line it up real quick, and I'll show you exactly where the timing marks are. So we got the timing marks lined up, and we know the belt's been changed before because somebody has marked the belt. Not the belt, but the alignment marks. Bring y'all down. Alright, y'all see, trying to get it where y'all can. See that white mark? Up above it is like a little line on the engine case. You want to line that up, and both cams have it. There, it looks off because I got you at an angle, but that one is lined up. Now, there was so much play in this thing that I can move the crank gear like 2 to 3 teeth off of top dead center, and it would take up the slack that way. But I did line it up. There is a dot on the gear. Let me get y'all. I don't know if y'all can see that little dot, and there is an arrow on the case up there. You want to line those right there up, and that is your timing marks. Also on the Harmonic Balancer, you can use it most of the time. I'm thinking there should have been a mark on here as well. Yeah, there's some marks right there, and I think that white mark is your top dead center mark. And on the case, not case, but the timing cover, you can line that up with this arrow that's right there before you do it, and that will get you pretty close on your top dead center marks. You might be 180 out, but also on the covers there's little peepholes you can do, and you should see the letter or number 1 on it too, to show you that you are on the number 1 cylinder at top dead center when that arrow lines up, and you can read the 1 through the peephole. But now what I'm going to do is start taking all this stuff off, and I'm going to start by taking the idler gears off and the timing tensioner off, and then once I take that off, I should be able to get the belt off relatively easy. And once we get the belt off, we'll take the water pump off. But I'm gonna run in, grab me something to eat real quick because it should be about lunchtime, and then I'll come back out and start taking all this apart. So I went ahead and put the water pump on because it is such a tight spot to get into, and here is the old one right here, and it is a Honda original, as you can see right there. But it looks like the gasket was starting to swell up a little bit, which is pretty typical, and the weep holes are on the top. But we went ahead and replaced it anyway, and the bolts that you're going to take out is, there's one here, 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 and then these three are the motor mount bolts right there, the bracket part that goes through the water pump, and that helps hold it down too. But the 10 millimeters on the outside, they torque to 9 foot-pounds. And like I said, I went ahead and put the new one on, and I went ahead and put the belt on the crank down on the bottom, and now we're going to start putting everything in. But one thing I wanted to show you was my kit come with this little shim. It tells you which side it goes out. It goes behind the idler that attaches to the water pump on the front of the engine, or on the front of the car on this side. So you put this on behind it and stick it down. It goes in between that and the water pump. Alright, we got the belt on. It's routed up good. I made sure all my timing marks are good before I pull the pin. I did tighten down the idler and the tensioner itself. The tensioner should torque down to 19. The idlers, they torque down to 33, and that is the same for this idler right here that the tensioner pushes on. But we're not going to tighten that one up yet until we release the pin. I do have it just kind of snug, just where it still moves, but it doesn't have the full torque on it. That way whenever we pull the pin, it will press up against the little idler piece and the little ear on it. Where's the other one? I had it around here somewhere. I think it's in here. So here it is. As you can see, the tensioner presses up against the ear like that. It sits in the engine like this, and the tensioner pushes up. But there's a sleeve in here you're going to have to reuse from the old one into the new one, because the bolt goes through that, and that's what keeps pressure on everything. But like I said, now we got everything on there. We're going to actually pull the pin now, because I got everything torqued down except for that idler right there that the tensioner pushes on. So to do this, you just pull the pin, and that's what it looks like. Also, I keep all these pins right here because they come in handy when you have to reuse this type of tensioner, and you can put the pin back in there and reuse it if you're just doing a little job and the tensioner is still good. You know, like you may have to do a water pump but not a timing belt. I mean, most of the time you're going to do it, but there's that rare occasion where somebody doesn't want to. So now we have the pin pulled. What we're going to do is rotate the engine over a few times, make sure everything is good and make sure nothing's binding up, and then we'll put the marks back on top dead center, make sure that everything lines back up and looks good. This engine's got some good compression on it, I gotta say that. Guys, she was a little snug, I'll say that. Like, you can tell nothing was hitting, it's just it's got real good compression. I should have took the spark plugs out because I'm doing spark plugs anyway. But we rotated it over, and marks right there, lines right there. You know, you can't see back in here, but marks line up on that, and then the bottom of it lines up as well. Like I said, I rotated over 4 times just to be safe. Now I'm going to, now I'm going to torque this down. If I can do it one-handed. All right, there we go. I'm gonna set y'all down. So we are good to go. We can start putting everything back together on there. And one thing I do want to show y'all is I did get a new motor mount. See that right here is a Power Torque B9411. This is the one that we needed because The other one, like I said, was really bad. So I'm gonna put all this stuff back together. Whenever I get ready to torque the crank bolt, I'll show y'all the torque on that and how I do it, and then we'll pretty much fire it up and make sure everything is running right. All right, so I got the crank tool in there, got that little holder piece, and now we're about ready to torque the crank bolt. And the way we're going to do this is you got to torque it to 48 foot-pounds, and then you torque it another 60 degrees. And I'll let you know what the final torque spec on this is after I torque it all down. Alright, so we got her running now. Started right up, no issues. We put some coolant in it, letting it come up to temperature. But everything seems to be going good. All we got to do is just make sure that there's no air in the system. But this is going to conclude the video. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you got any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. And if I forgot anything, please let me know, as I'll address that in the comment section below too if I did forget anything. And y'all remember, torque this tight, and y'all have a great day.